Yes, and we're back. It's Celtic Unrestricted View podcast, and it's the Argentine View with myself, JP, and we're joined by Seba once again. Well, Seba, I'm really glad to have you on. I hope you're sobered up from the mad November, December time, mate. So I'm really glad to have you on. A few things to chat to you about the World Cup, Bernabei's progress since the last time we spoke to you. But I'll put you in first, mate. Hope you're well, and I'm really glad to have you on.
Hi guys, thank you for having me here. I'm really glad to be here to discuss with all of you and all the fans on the other part of this live.
I say, JP, it was good to obviously speak to Sarah before about Bernabei, and just about everything he has said so far has been, let's be fair, spot on, mate. Obviously, a lot of fans, we all know from speaking to Seba and football in general that Bernabei did need time to settle. We're starting to maybe see the fruits of that now. He's getting more into the game, and as the games go on, but good to have him on, JP, and obviously for yourself to chat to him as well.
Yeah, it's good to be on with you. I missed the last one due to other commitments I had at the time. So, yeah, it'll be good to have a wee chat with Seba and kind of pick his brains about Alessandro and as we go.
I think the first thing we need to speak about is obviously Argentina, Seba, the World Cup. And the main man, he is Lionel Messi. We all know how fantastic he is. Amazing. If not the best player, there are always going to be comparisons between Ronaldo and Messi. But obviously, Argentina, I've got to say it's got to be Messi, just because I'm on the podcast with you. But how are you feeling since then? And I hope you've calmed down a bit since then.
I'm trying. We are quite kind of in a dream sometimes when you think that the Argentina won the World Cup. It's like this is actually happening. But the truth is that as a country, we are all delighted for what happened, especially with Messi, because we wanted Messi to win the World Cup. I think that probably 99% of the people around the world wanted because of him, and especially after the magnificent World Cup that he played. I think that he deserved that, and Argentina as well.
I think JP, obviously, before we come on, we spoke about obviously the first game in the World Cup, and a lot of people outside that Argentina were probably thinking, is this going to be another one where one of the big names doesn't make it? Because Germany have done it in the past, Spain, all these big teams, there's always one or two that does crash out early doors, and I backed them myself, so I was thinking, okay, this isn't like it's my betting slip. But let's be fair, as the games went on, they did turn on the style in terms of the way they played, and I think there's a lot of unsung heroes, but let's be fair, JP, as Seba says, Messi was the main man. He was the main man of the tournament, and the fact that he turned up. Some big players don't turn up to these tournaments. They have a fantastic season, a fantastic 6 months of the year. They don't turn up, but by God, did Messi turn up?
Yeah, and it's not unexpected either. He's just that natural, and nothing seems to faze him at all. He seems to be very calm and composed, especially in the bigger, the most pressurised situations. And talking about obviously Argentina's first game at the World Cup, they started very kind of sluggish. But in saying that, Ryan, I'm only talking in terms of results, the result-wise, because if you look at the actual game, I think they'd like 3 goals chopped off before Saudi Arabia caused any issues whatsoever. And looking back at the game as well, you could probably say it was a stroke of luck on Saudi Arabia's behalf that it just so happened to be that type of finish that won the game. And then after that, they sit in, and then obviously the accident between the goalkeeper and the defender. And the game after Saudi Arabia's second goal, I felt just became very broken. There was a lot of wee incidents that were happening, and then the longer the game headed towards the 90 minutes, you tend to see Saudi Arabia trying to take a lot of extra time on, the way they were going about it, the goal kicks or throw-ins, or they were changing takers, and then there was this guy coming in and he was doing this. So there was a wee bit of kind of time wasting. But overall, yeah, it was a kind of slow start. Probably Seba and all these other fellow supporters probably nearly swallowed their Adam's apple at a full-time result, to be fair. But after that, but saying that, those guys tend to have a lot of really good belief. And why wouldn't you have belief in terms of your own ability when you've got a guy like Lionel Messi in your squad? I only wish Scotland had somebody like that we could even bring into our ranks. It'd be good if we'd done a loan system and we were able to loan international players, because I think everybody would be champing the door looking for Messi just for a wee shot of him for a couple of games here and there to try and get them through certain qualifying campaigns.
I think obviously Scotland, we don't really get a lot of joy from our national team. A bit better recently, but in terms of qualifying and stuff, I know we qualified for Euros recently, but we kind of far to deceive again. So it's good to actually speak to you, Seba, in terms of how it feels to actually be good in a tournament, actually win something. Because obviously we're used to Celtic winning things, not Scotland. So when you twist that around, it must be an amazing feeling as a international fan to see your international team win something.
Well, it is difficult, of course, especially for Argentina. Argentina, every time that plays a World Cup or a tournament, a major tournament, we are one of the favorites. But in the last, I'm turning 29 soon, and I've seen Argentina winning an major tournament only 2 times in my life. Last year, or in 2021 with the Copa America, and then the World Cup a couple of weeks ago. So when you realized how difficult is football actually, you can notice that even if you have Messi on the lineup, it's still difficult because this is football and this is a team and you need to score and you need to win the games. What happened with Saudi Arabia is that it was a tough game. We didn't expect that result, and then we realized that in the upcoming games and in the World Cup, a lot of results like this one were starting to show in the World Cup. So the thing is, Argentina play well. It's, of course, we have Messi, and we knew that this kind of thing would happen. He scored almost in every single game, and because of that, of course, we are happy. But we were always confident. We knew that this is gonna happen, and well, here we are with 3 stars now.
I think for me anyway, it was obviously because I backed them, but it was just good to see. Obviously, I'd had a lot of bad press beforehand, but I was glad the football kind of shone and it made it really good. It was one of the best finals I've ever seen. I know recently there's been a fantastic darts final, but in terms of football, it was end to end. The second half, it was amazing to watch as a football fan. JP obviously said a bit different. Might have had 2 or 3 gins a bit more during the second half, but I think in general, JP as a football, as a neutral, it was just amazing to watch two powerful teams go at it and actually try and go toe to toe to win something instead of defending like some teams, big teams do. Like you see down south, they hype up all the big games, they hype up England, and they don't produce. But this game did get hyped up, and let's be fair, it did really live to the hype.
Yeah, definitely. It was an incredible final. But I found that with the tournament, Ryan. I thought that I was really surprised that at the beginning I wasn't looking forward to the tournament because it was bagging right in the domestic season. Mm-hmm. And you were getting a lot of, whether it be good or bad, or fans speaking from all over the world. I thought the World Cup was actually quite a decent product in the end. You look at a lot of the good games, a couple of good surprises as well in terms of teams like Morocco, Japan, all qualifying for the groups. When Japan had Spain and Germany in their group, they actually went through. So I think South Korea get through as well. So like I say, there was a few surprises in the World Cup. But the one for me after the Saudi Arabia game, in terms of Argentina, I just found they were very consistent and they got better as the games came along. As a squad, you seen them starting to grow in belief. Like this could actually be our year. In terms of the final, I don't think you'll get a better final than that in a long, long time. You've got one side, Mbappe scores a hat-trick for France. Argentina score the goals that they do, and the drama that was surrounded all the goals, and then the game goes to extra time and penalties. So it was a really, really, as a sceptical, even as a neutral fan, it was it was special to watch. It really was.
I don't know what you feel about, obviously, the final, Seba. For me, it was amazing to watch as a neutral. But I'm guessing as a fan, I think you would have been on your toes or looking behind the sofa, or I know you were there as well. And I was to watch it, so I'm guessing the crowd were a wee bit anxious during the second half.
Yes, I mean, I did not enjoy the game after the 80th minute. After the second goal, I did not enjoy it, honestly. I just wanted to finish this game, especially because 80 minutes Argentina was the clear team who dominated the entire game. So it was like kind of unfair from that point of view. But this is football and you need to win the game. And point of view of a neutral, it was definitely the best World Cup final of the history. As you mentioned, you have two big teams playing each other, trying to score as many goals as they can. Mbappe with a hat trick, Messi scoring again in the extra time. So the game has a lot of things that we can enjoy as a neutral. As an Argentine, as I said, I did not enjoy it at all, but I'm kind of happy after all.
No, definitely. Again, it was amazing to watch as a football fan. But in terms of Celtic, obviously Alexander Bernabei is at Celtic and was $3.5 million roughly, $4 million roughly. He's moved from in the summer from Argentina. So I rate him, Seba, from what I'm seeing so far. I don't know what you've made of his progress so far, but when we did speak to you the last time, you were kind of spot on. You would need time to obviously acclimatise and get used to the style of play, coming from abroad, coming to Glasgow. Obviously, the weather's not the best either. So he's a young man, young family, etc. So he's obviously having to come in and really get used to the way we are here, the size of the club and everything. So in terms of me, I think he's been really good so far. I know he's not had much of the game time maybe that he was expected, obviously due to the form of Greg Taylor. But I think overall, when he's played, I think he's done relatively okay. He seems to actually get better as the games go on. I don't know if that's the way he was in his old team as well, Seba, but in terms of myself, I think he's been a good signing so far.
Yes, as I always say, he needs time. He needs time. I knew that this season is going to be difficult for him, especially to get used to Europe and playing Champions League or Europa League. So I knew that it's going to be like that. But the good thing is that he is getting used to it. I'm always chatting with him, either outside of the after the stadium or after a game, or just on a Tuesday evening to ask him how is it going with everything, with the games, with everything, and he's happy and he's enjoying his life here in Glasgow with Celtic, with his teammates. I remember one day that he was telling me that one of the guys who was helping him to get used to it was Jota because of the language. I know Jota speaks Portuguese, but they are kind of similar. So, but now he's getting used to it, and that is a good part as a Celtic team. I think that the biggest responsible for that is Ange, because he wants to make a full team in terms of all the players that are coming to Glasgow. So I think that he's doing it well, and he's going to do it even better from next season.
I think JP, it's interesting what Seba says there in terms of obviously speaking to him, and he's happy here. I know he might have not played every game, but he's happy to develop, plays football at a big club, obviously likes Glasgow. So that's really good to hear, JP, even though he's not playing as much, that he's still happy to be at the club and he's plodding on every day in training to get to obviously where he wants to be under Ange.
Yeah, definitely. Ryan, I'm actually really surprised at how fast he seems to have settled in terms of his performance levels, because for a young guy coming from that side of the world to come over, it must be quite daunting, especially a massive club like Celtic. And I don't want to disrespect the club he came from, but I can imagine the two clubs in terms of stature is absolutely night and day. So that itself would have been a massive change in his life. Probably the training he's now having to do, I would imagine, is totally different from what he did over in is it Lannis he came from, wasn't it?
Yes, Lannis.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when he's come over, he's probably a lot fitter now than what he was when he was in Argentina. He's probably more physically sharper. His body probably feels, I would imagine, 100 times better, because I know how hard the Celtic boys are worked. We know how hard they train now. So in terms of that, he's had to adapt to that. And obviously, as we know now, he's going to be a dad soon. So that's another big change that's going to happen in his life. So he's had a few things to juggle along the way. But any time he's come into that team, he's gave his all. And Seba, I don't know about you, and I don't know what he was like when he was in Argentina, because I only done a bit of due diligence on him before we had signed him up until, and then obviously seen what I've seen with my own eyes with him in a green and white shirt. But he looks very, very physical, and he doesn't shy away from maybe a bigger opponent in terms of a wide man when the ball is played diagonally into the channel. He's always first up to try and challenge a guy, and he's got some leap on him for a small guy. His timing is absolutely impeccable, and I think he's an absolute flying machine in terms of his energy up and down the pitch. When he loses the ball, he's the first to, get torn after it. And I don't know if that's something that maybe that Ange Postecoglou has had to integrate into his game, or he's came with those tools already installed in him. But in terms of, I know you've said there, Seba, that you speak to him on regularly. What's the vibe you get from? Has it been a big adaptation for him in terms of? Is it different lifestyles? What's been the big thing for him to come? And in my opinion, he's settled quite well already.
Well, it's not easy to play for Celtic. We all know that, because it doesn't matter if you come from one of the biggest clubs in the world or just a team in a small town in Argentina. It's always difficult because you need to perform every single game. It doesn't matter if you're playing Champions League or you're playing against Morton on the 21st for the League Cup. The important thing is that you need to perform every time that you are playing, if you start or if you're on the bench. And I think that this is one of the things that Bernabei knows about that. And this is another one of the reasons why Ange chose him as a left back.
Yeah.
Kind of left back, because sometimes he's playing even forward on the pitch and giving another instruction. He's happy the way that he's playing and the instruction that Ange is giving to him. I found quite different the way that Celtic is playing when Taylor is on the pitch or Bernabei is playing. Not because one is better than the other one. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the style are kind of different.
Yeah.
So of course that the main thing here is to understand the team and the club that he's playing for, which I think that he completely understands that. He knows where he is. But of course that he needs to prove that on the pitch. I think that he's starting to do it, or at least his performances have been quite good in terms of what we can expect from a 21 years old player coming from the other part of the world. But of course that there's quite a lot of things that we know that he's going to show in the next month.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be apparent because obviously Greg Taylor's obviously injured his hamstring at the game at Ibrox, so he is going to get an opportunity now to come into the side. It was started obviously on Saturday past, which I thought the team as a whole in the first half were very, very kind of sluggish, didn't really get going. But in the second half, you could really see the fruits of what he's about as a player, I think, Seba, in terms of his energy levels, his speed, his reading of the game. He gets on the end of passes when he's looking for that 1-2, and he likes to run in behind as well. And I was just going to ask, do you think, Seba, that as we go down the line now with him, he could potentially become like more of a left wing player rather than a left wing back or a left back himself. Because, in my opinion, I think he's got the armoury and his tool set to play as a left winger, because he likes to take people on and he's got that kind of pace and drive and energy to go by people.
Yes, definitely. I was gonna say that. I think that Bernabei has the skills to play more like a left winger or a left midfielder. He can even play with Taylor, both together. Of course, that because Celtic has a lot of good players in the middle of the pitch, they will do it maybe better. But it's good to know for Ange that they will have another player, a left-footed player, to play as a midfielder. So yes, I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
See in terms of the way he plays, I think it matches, in my opinion anyway, Seba and JP, it matches the way we are as a club at the moment. He's very, very quick, he looks very sharp, and for me, I don't know if I'm giving Greg Taylor the service, but I think sometimes at the last game we played recently there, at the weekend there, his crossing in the first half wasn't very good, but the second half, it was much better. I don't know, sometimes I feel Bernabei's got a much better in terms of the pace, the delivery than Taylor, but Taylor's maybe more efficient and distributes it better. But for me, that's maybe I've picked on about Bernabei, Seba, it's his delivery. It might not be picture perfect, but as the game goes on and he warms up, some of his deliveries in the box are fantastic. And for me, as a striker, it's perfect because it's right on it's either on your head, it's on your right or left foot. So for me, I don't know if that's something that he's already had in his locker or he's got that better under Ange and training with Celtic. So, but from my opinion, I think his delivery is getting better, but it's ferocious in the way he hits the ball across the box.
Yes, Bernabei, when he's playing for Celtic, especially during the second half, is the same way that he was playing for Lanús in Argentina. It's the same way, trying to attack from the mid as a midfielder and attacking with his deliveries and trying to generate the situations for the strikers. But there's something that I've been noticing in the last couple of months for Celtic, that every time that Bernabei is playing, the right back is Juranovic. Most of the time it's Juranovic, not Ralston. So what Ange is trying to make is that trying to put both players that are similar between them. So the way that they are going to play on an attacking form is going to be similar. Because if not, you will play as a left back with different players and right back with completely different ones. So now that Taylor is injured, Bernabei has the opportunity to show that he can start and doing it from the start of the game, which is something that you mentioned, that he sometimes needs to warm up, but at Celtic you just need to play from the start of the game. But these are the kind of things that he needs to get used to it, and still 6 months since he arrived. So that is what he needs to improve in order to say to Ange, okay, I am your first choice, so I am going to be in the lineup every single game.
Yeah, a wee comment, JP from the YouTube, Egyptian King. It was Bernabei's cross that set up Giakoumakis' goal at St Johnstone, and that was obviously St Johnstone scored and we had to, the last few minutes, get a goal, and that was a fantastic ball in. The way, I think it's McCarthy passed the ball, he whipped it across, and it was a fantastic finish for big Giakoumakis. That's just small snippets that we've seen from him. So for me, that goal, we all thought we were going to draw the game, and he's come up with that cross, and it was right on the money for Giakoumakis. He just had to be there. And you know me, mate, I'm big on, if the striker's in there, then it's down to the striker, it's down to the winger or the left back, whoever it is. They need to put the ball in the box, because if a striker's there, then you can't be looking playing at the striker because he's there. But that ball in was picture perfect for Giakoumakis to slot it away.
Which, by the way, they become... Sorry.
No, sorry, on you go, Seba.
They become really good friends, Giakoumakis and Bernabei. They're both always together trying to encourage, maybe because of the way that they both are playing every time they are on the pitch.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that as well there, Seba, because I've saw warm-ups when the two of them have maybe been on a bench and they've been out warming up, and there's a lot of carry on and play acting with the two of them, a lot of laughing and joking, and And I've picked up on that. Giakoumakis, obviously, the two of them must be quite really friendly. It's not the first time I've noticed that myself, and obviously you've highlighted it there. But in terms of what you were saying there, Ryan, in terms of that delivery, that was unbelievable. That was the day the kind of last minute winner for us, the 2-1 game. Not only that as well, I think he got 2 assists at the 6-1 game against Hibs at Celtic Park as well. One he played right onto a plate for Giakoumakis again. Don't forget, on Saturday there he set up Jota's goal.
Yep.
So he's got an assist for that as well. So for a guy who's not really probably played as much as what he'd have liked to, he does have a few assists to his name already. In terms of, getting into good areas. I thought he was very good when he came on against Leipzig at Celtic Park, and Ange played him sort of higher in the left wing position, and I thought he was very good. Right away, he took the boy on and beat him. I think it was the boy Hadara had went over to cover the ground, and the wee man left. He just left. The last thing Hadara saw was the dust sparting off Bernabei's heels, because the wee man just left him for dead, and Hadara had to pay back in again, is what I heard. So it was. He's very, very good, and his timing's good as well. And what I'm saying with that is because when teams play, when he tends to play, a lot of teams are setting up as if they want to play a long diag into his area. When that happens, the wee man gets his cell in right good positions. He either gets ahead on it, or he does enough to put the guy off. And it normally 9 times out of 10, it's going for a shy to Celtic. Now, Seba, has he always been a physical type player, or is that maybe something that he's only just started to develop since he's signed for Celtic?
I think that he improved that in Glasgow, playing for Celtic. It is tough, the Argentine league. It is difficult. It's not an easy league. But of course, at Celtic, you need to improve every single skill that you have. You need to be the best one in every single point of view. So that is why I think that Ange is doing a really good job in terms of choosing the players who can actually fit on the type of football that he wants. Because you can play Haddad as a right back, because he has these kind of skills that can make him in this kind of games. Okay, can you please go and play on that part of the pitch? Or Bernabei, as you mentioned, playing against Leipzig on a Champions League, making his debut for Champions and saying, can you play as a left midfielder? Yes, I can. So they need to improve every single skill that they have. That is why they can play Giakoumakis and Kyogo in the front, or playing with Jota on the right and Maeda on the left. So I think that this is one of the main characteristics that this team has at the moment.
One of the main things, Seba, I don't know if you had the luxury of seeing the game from Saturday, but one of the main things I think he's adapted to is his aggression before he tackles for the ball. He shows right through that he closes at a high tempo when he's closing the winger, and now and again he can get caught. Sometimes I think because of the way Ange plays with inverted fullbacks, I think sometimes Bernabei comes in when he maybe should just stay, and then he sort of leaves like Starfelt isolated and caught in two minds whether he should be moving here to cover or drop him off to allow then the second part of the phase of play happen. But when he is challenging and when he's right on top of it, I mean, his aggression shines through, and in my opinion, I think he's got better as the more he's played for Celtic, and I was just wondering if he's always had that, because it just looks as if it's instinctive. It's very instinctive for him to do it, and for me that comes from when you're young. It's kind of built into you, and I don't know if maybe Ange is using the training tools to maybe bring it out more, or is it something that he's always had? Because smaller players, we always have a laugh and a carry on about smaller players, and we call it wee man syndrome. And they always seem to, they feel as if they have to do a bit more in terms of, show aggression, so that they're not getting pushed about because of their size or stature. if they're playing against a bigger opponent. But when he plays against a bigger opponent, it doesn't seem to faze him at all. And I just think his game awareness, his aggression, and his timing has got 10 times better for what he came and showed maybe in his first appearance for us in pre-season.
Yeah, he always played like that. The only difference now is that he's 21, 22 now. When he started playing in Argentina, he was really young. And now playing for Celtic, as I mentioned before, he needs to improve in every single skill and take every single opportunity. I remember a couple of months ago when I was on the show with you guys, and I was saying that he will come to Celtic and he will take every single opportunity because that is his the biggest step. The biggest step of a player is playing in Europe. That's it, playing Champions League. And he came to Celtic to play Champions League, even though even if he didn't play as much as we expected, or I did expect him to play not that many games. But this is fantastic for him. This is a new world. So that is why he needs to take every single opportunity. It doesn't matter if he starts the game or if he will be on the bench until the 75th minute. It doesn't matter.
Got a wee comment, Seba, from YouTube. Central Scott, Bernabei is somewhat inconsistent just now, but when he's good, he's good. He's very dynamic, mainly due to his pace and whipping deliveries. For me, I can maybe agree, but I think the only reason, Seba, thanks for comment there, I think, Seba, the only reason he's inconsistent is because he's not playing regularly. And I think sometimes, for me anyway, when I played, if I was on the bench and you were maybe not playing every week and you're coming on to maybe play the game, it is sometimes hard to get into the rhythm of the game because you're not playing every week. And I know you're doing that in training every week, you're playing at the same intensity and everything else, but it's very, very different from starting a game to then coming on at 65, 70 minutes to then do your stuff. So maybe now he's getting run of games due to Taylor's unfortunate injury. He might actually show a bit of consistency because he's getting the chance to actually prove his way of playing.
Yes, I was kind of surprised last week against Rangers when Taylor was injured and Bernabei didn't play that game. Probably because Ange wanted to play with Juranovic because of his experience. But I agree with you. I agree with you. I'm not saying that Bernabei has played every single game, the best games in his life. Of course not. But I knew that this is gonna happen. I knew that this is gonna be minutes and not entire games. So of course that now that unfortunately Taylor is injured and he cannot be part of the team, this is the big opportunity for him because Ange cannot choose Taylor. So he has to choose a left back. I don't think that Juranovic or any other player will play as a left back, not for the next games. So I think that Bernabei has a really big chance now, and he will have to prove that.
I think JP, in terms of what Seba says, I think that is probably the only reason Juranovic played at left back in the game, because he's just off a brilliant World Cup. He has experience of playing in these games. He's probably more equipped, maybe, in terms of that side. Maybe that's why he played. But I was a bit shocked. I was thinking about Bernabei would come on. Obviously, Juranovic, if he was fully fit, I thought he'd have started the game. So the fact he didn't start the game, I'm thinking like maybe he's only there just in case. But Bernabei was on the bench. I did feel that maybe if Bernabei did play, we might have not conceded the first goal. This is all hindsight, but I think Seba's right, JP. Maybe that is the only reason why Juranovic played, was because he came off a very, very good World Cup and his experience in these type of games.
Yeah, well, I think Ange, my thinking as the manager probably thought along the lines of Juranovic a year ago made his debut in that fixture and played at left back and played the game very, very well. Okay, narrowly we lost the tie 1-0. But I think off the back of his World Cup exploits as well, and he was a bronze medal winner. Let's not get away from it. So that's nothing against Bernabei himself. I think if Greg Taylor wasn't fit to play the game, Ange would have probably started Bernabei. Personally, But because the game had already started, I think Ange went with, like Seba and like yourself says there, the experience of Juranovic. Nobody could have foreseen the performance level that ended up Juranovic played. Nobody foresaw that coming. But after, there was no way Ange was then going to take Juranovic off and bring Bernabei on by that point, because the game was well underway, and the kind of fate was already semi set in stone of what was going to happen that day. So, I think with Bernabei just now, guys, I think Ange it's a kind of horses for courses with Ange, in terms of, personally, I think Bernabei being a young lad, Ange has probably brought him here to maybe bring him into the team for a year, get him to develop, and we'll probably not see the best of Bernabei maybe until next season. When he's here, he's probably, his baby will be here then, he'll be a lot more settled, his training will, I'll have kicked in, his endurance will have kicked in, getting used to the style, getting used to the culture, getting used to everything all around about him. And then come the pre-season, he'll be ready to go and probably properly give Greg Taylor a proper challenge in terms of, I'm here and I'm not going away. And if you play bad, or you maybe you're not at it, I'm taking your jersey. What are you going to do about it? I think that's going to be the attitude. And you can see throughout the squad, not just in that position, throughout the squad, Ange seems to be doing that. So he's brought in now Tomoki Iwata from Japan, a guy that he's coached, who was a J League's Player of the Year last season. And it's a chap in the door now to guys like Callum McGregor, James McCarthy, Yosuke Hiraguchi, Oliver Abelgard, all the other guys, Rio Hatate, Matt O'Reilly, Aaron Moy, everybody else that's playing in that position, to more or less say, look, if you're only at it and you're only doing what you should be doing every game when the games come, like Seba says, it doesn't matter if it's Morton or Real Madrid, you need to be at it. And if you're not, then this guy's going to be chapping your door to say, I'm taking your jersey, what are you going to do about it? And that's what we're starting to see now with this current Celtic team. That's why I said to you a while ago, Ryan, on the podcast, that we are going to have to get used to the manager rotating this squad, because to fire in all fronts, you need a bulkier type squad, and you also need quality, or more than one in terms of quality for every other position.
And I'm gonna link something that we were discussing at the beginning of the chat, which is we've seen Argentina in the World Cup that started with a completely different team, and while the games were being played with Enzo Fernandez, McAllister, these kind of players, the team changed because they knew that there was going to be someone in the bench that could make it even better if you're not fit enough or you're not performing as well as expected. So I think this is exactly the same thing that is happening with Celtic. The players that they are starting every single game, they know that if they take a look on the bench, they will have another player that can play for them. But it's working as a team, and this is, I think, is one of the best thing that a coach can do, and in this case, Ange.
Get a wee comment from my YouTube as well. Actually quite interesting, Seba. From the Egyptian King, look at Giacomakis when Kyogo was injured last season. He came in and was deadly because he played every week and he was obviously scoring goals. It will be the same for Bernabei. He will come in and lay a claim for the starting jersey. For me, Seba, after I spoke to you and obviously done a bit of due diligence and obviously the transfer fee, I know Greg Taylor, anybody who listened to the podcast before this season, I gave Greg Taylor a bit of stick. I didn't think he was good enough.
You didn't, did you?
I didn't think he was good enough, especially at European level. I didn't think he'd be able to step up to the mark. We can only see from what we see. We don't know how people are going to improve. And he didn't, but he's improved remarkably. After I spoke to you and when Ange did sign him for the transfer fee I did think he was going to be the left back. I thought he was going to be the main man. Just everything about him, his physicality, like he says, he's quick, he's sharp, young, hungry, want to come in and impress. just the way he was, I thought he fits the bill perfectly. And then he's not really come in and played because of the form of Greg Taylor. But I'm agreeing with the comment there that if he does get a place in the team in terms of the way he will be at the moment due to the injury from Taylor, and he does start to show his form, then Greg Taylor will have a fight on his hands if he does produce what I think he is capable of, and that is being a mainstay. But he's got to maybe prove now to maybe knock Taylor off the pedestal, because Taylor will be injured for a few weeks. And if he is starting to play really well, then Taylor will need to up it again to come in and play, because that's just the way football works. And like he says, you've always got somebody there to play on the bench. So if you're not performing, so if Bernabei starts to play the next few games, Taylor's back fit, he has one or two bad games, then Taylor's back in again.
And I think that that's the best thing for a team, to know that you have someone else that can take your place, not in a good manner, right? Not something that is bad, but it's not bad because Ange made that possible, made a team. So I completely agree with you. I mean, Taylor, we need to be honest, Taylor is having one of his best season in his career, and I'm happy for him, because it means that for Celtic it's going to be good as well. Of course, that I want to see Bernabei play in every single game, not only as an Argentine, because I know him, because I know that he will be happy as well, but he's happy already. So, and he knows that he needs to perform, and he needs to train and to have a lot of session with the team in order to get used to it and everything that we've been talking about. So it's a matter of, it's not only one player, especially if you're a defender. If you're Kyogo and you're scoring every single training session, you will be picked up for the lineup. But for Bernabei, he needs to prove that every game, as Taylor did during the whole season.
I think, JP, that is really the full thing about Celtic in the moment. Whoever comes in and plays, and they do play well, they've got a very good chance of playing continuously. Look at Aaron Moy. A lot of fans weren't for him. I personally think that's fans not doing the research and not actually watching him play, because we all knew he was a quality player just because he was a free transfer. They were thinking, why are we signing somebody from China? Free transfer. Apparently, some people say he failed down south, etc. It didn't. He was a fantastic player for Huddersfield and Brighton. The quality here, like Seba says, the quality you've got on the bench, the quality you've got in the stands, not even in the squad sometimes, not even making the matchday squad, it's phenomenal. Guys like Gucci, McCarthy, I guarantee you they're probably playing every other Scottish Premier League team if they were fit. So even Rangers, McCarthy could easily play with Rangers and bother, in my opinion. He's just unlucky that he's not really been fit, and it doesn't really fit Celtic system. But for me, JP, it just shows you the club were built under Ange, the squad. Like Seba says, if it's Aaron Moy not playing well, Hatate will step in. If McGregor does step off his form, I know he's a captain, but I'd like to think Ange is that ruthless that he'll take him out if he's not performing and he's handling the team, which I don't think will ever happen. But that's the way we're working at the moment, and that's the way we're under this manager. Like you say, JP, I'm not the best of a believers at changing squads. I don't like it, but I'm starting to understand it now under the manager we've got, that you kind of need to do it with this squad, because the way we play, everybody's got to be on it. And to be on it, I think sometimes making change is better than not making change, because you've seen it down south with teams like Liverpool and Man United, etc. When they keep playing the same players, it gets stale. They don't really play as quick as it's fluent. So it only benefits us by having that squad, JP, that we have at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. And as I said, it's like I mentioned a minute ago, horses for courses. Because of the way he's built the squad, it's going to be certain games will come along and Ange will favour this guy over that guy, or this formation over that formation, because he tends to fluctuate between the two to three formations. Obviously it's a different shape when Celtic don't have the ball to when they do, but I mean, you just look at our bench just now, Ryan. I think Derek McInnes was complimentary of it from the weekend. On the bench at the weekend, we had David Turnbull, Matt O'Reilly, Leah Labada, Giacomakis, and who was the other? Well, Haksabanovic wasn't even part of the squad.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of guys you're bringing on as substitutes, as in your 5 substitutions. Obviously, Alessandro's been on the bench a few times as well, so he's come off the bench as well. But this is what I'm saying, that this is the kind of quality you've now got coming off Celtic's bench. And like I said to you the other night, it's the best Celtic team I've seen in terms of squad depth and quality per man. Not only that, it's probably the fittest Celtic team I remember watching.
Mm-hmm.
They're more dynamic, the tempo throughout the team's unbelievable. And I'm quite big on my teams being fit. And this Celtic team are very, very fit and sharp. And you can see it. They're more fitter now than I would say they were a year ago under Ange. And you can see it. I don't know what they do in terms of the drills, etc. But you can see the fruits of whatever it is they've done on the pitch, because the last 10, 15 minutes, teams are, dead in their feet. Celtic are still running. You've got guys like Alessandro Bernabei still chasing boys up the wing at 85 minutes and still going strong at it. On the other side, you'd Alistair Johnson. I think he covered every blade of grass on Saturday at Celtic Park. They don't stop running. They're always involved. They're always looking for the ball. He's looking for the next pass. It's the same in the midfield. Midfield's so dynamic. They're hybrid, so they move in and out of interchanging positions. And like I say, and that's all down to Ange Postecoglou. But in terms of Bernabei, his energy and the team is really nice on the eye. And I like the fact that when he gets the ball, his first thought is to go forward with it.
Mm-hmm.
Very seldom does he look for that sideways or backwards pass. He'll only look for that pass if the pathway for him to go forward has been closed off. But no, he's certainly one that I think is going to grow in time. He's young, like I say, he's a young guy as well, and he's already shown the signs that he's already showed growth in the small time that he's been here so far in the 6-7 months he's been here. So yeah, I think it's only going to bode well for him as we go forward.
Got another wee comment, JP. Put yourself first, and then Seba. I think we spoke about it, but I have a question. It's Egyptian King again. Do you think the Celtic team can beat the Invincible teams? I think it does. For myself, me and JP have spoke about it personally off the show, and in terms of, I'll even go back to the O'Neill team. For me, in terms of the best individual players, I would say O'Neill's team is probably better in terms of, for me, in my lifetime, they've had the best front three maybe Celtic ever had, in Hearts and Sutton and Larsson. I don't think we'll ever get that again, because I think back then it was different football, the money was different, everything was just different, I feel. They were men, they were strong, they were physical, everything was just totally different, they had everything. But in terms of Rodgers, JP, that's probably the best. Obviously, I was a bit younger with O'Neill. I'm like Seba, I'm only 29, so I grew up watching O'Neill's team. And obviously going through to Stratton, etc. and stuff. So, but Rodgers has probably been where I can say I lived the moment. I can understand it all. And Rodgers' team gave me probably the best moments in my life being a Celtic fan. Tom Rogic, the treble winner, and just the brand of football, guys like Sinclair, Dembele, I can ring them all off. But I think in terms of now, I think that team would beat Rodgers' team. I think they really would. They're maybe too sharp. I know with Sinclair and Roberts, etc., and Scott Brown at his peak. But I think these guys are fitter, they're sharper, they're maybe more tactically better in terms of the way they play football, because of the way the inverted fullbacks play. I don't think Rodgers' team maybe cope with that very well. I just feel the squads are balanced better in terms of the way we play. For me, JP, I think it's probably the best Celtic team I've seen all round, not just individually players. I mean, as a whole collective, manager to goalkeeper to attack.
Well, it's a hard one to compare for me, Ryan. But overall, in my opinion, I do think the Celtic team would beat them. Yeah, overall, I think they're, like you say, faster, sharper. I think they're certainly a lot fitter. You had a lot of big guys in Rodgers' team as well that, over the period of a few yards. Certainly didn't have the pace to. Could you picture Simunovic trying to chase Maeda, or Boyata trying to chase Kyogo, or Kolo Toure in that case trying to chase any of those guys? And then in the midfield, I think he's seen only just a season after he left Celtic when Scott Brown played against Celtic. Now, whether that been, that people might say, Scott Brown maybe didn't try against Celtic, or, he had loyalties there. Nonsense. Scott Brown would have wanted to be professional, and he would have wanted to try and do what he could do and put himself against Callum McGregor. In my opinion, the two games that he played against us, I just thought he wasn't involved. The game bypassed him because of how fast we moved as a team.
But then you go to game against Rangers, he was brilliant.
But that's what I'm saying. but we're talking about but you talk about night and day in terms of teams here. In my opinion, there's a gulf between us two. So to try and put us in a similar conversation for me is just a big no-no right away. I know obviously people are going to say, but we only drew 2 each with them the last time. It took for us to play under par for them to just manage a draw. They still couldn't beat us. So if I fully Ange Postecoglou firing Celtic side, in my opinion, they don't get near us if we're firing and ready to go. But in terms of the Rodgers team to this team, I mean, sure, you had guys like Moussa Dembele and Scott Sinclair who injected some pace and, real physical injection into that team. But for me, I agree with you, Ryan. I think they would find it very hard with, even Ralston or Greg Taylor or Bernabei or Alistair Johnson or Juranovic or whoever it is, coming in field and acting as an extra number 6. Looking for the ball, picking up balls, and then the rotations between the midfielders as well. You didn't really get that in the Rodgers' team. It was always kind of Armstrong, or it was Scott Brown, or when McGregor played, it was, they were kind of set in their zones, if that makes sense. With this Celtic team, it's like when he goes there, he covers in here. When he goes there, he covers in here. And off the ball, they're just workhorses. The hunting packs with Rodgers' team, they were quite lazy at times, I thought. When they should have been doing it, they weren't. But you can't take away with the Rodgers' era, especially at the beginning, the first season, the Invincibles and stuff. They gave us some right good memories and great times as Celtic fans. But in my opinion, overall, watching the two sides, and I did say this the other night, I put my neck on the line. If this comes back to bite me, it does, then fair dues. I'm big enough and ugly enough to kind of sit here and hold my hands up and say I was wrong. But in my opinion, Ryan, this is by far, in my opinion, the best Celtic team that I remember watching. And I've had the luxury, I'm nearly 39 now, so I've the luxury of seeing quite a lot of Celtic teams through the years.
On yourself, Seba, from watching Scottish football through the years and Celtic, etc., and being in Scotland, how do you measure Celtic squad at the moment to any in the past? Because I'm agreeing with JP, I do believe it's certainly the most fittest and quickest and technical Celtic squad I've seen.
I completely agree with all of you. Of course, that you are the expert here. I've started to follow Celtic in 2008, and it was quite difficult to watch football at that time. But I can see that this team is more completed. So the way that Ange is trying to play football in Scotland shows the way that can be played football in a different part of the world. Because I don't remember another manager playing with a different style of football in Europe or in Scotland. So I think that what he's showing to the league, to the world, or to the country is that this team can play another style of football. And for me, this is fantastic, because if you compare all the players that they are now playing, which are not from Europe and they are from different parts of the world, and Celtic is now linked with another South Korean player, or he's trying to reach another player from a different league. I think that is fantastic, and the way that they are all trying to make a whole team makes this team the most completed one.
For me, I think JP and Seba, what you have said, and for me anyway, I'm going to agree with myself because I think I have had it right here, in terms of the way we are, and even
I
us
still
getting
like you, by the way. You're normally arguing with yourself at this point.
For me, I think Celtic we've not been under par. We've just not been Celtic that we're maybe used to seeing in certain games this year. And we all know that some people say that we've not really performed. But if you look at the league table, I think we've lost one game in 53 or 54 games. That just shows you. I know Rodgers' team went a lot of games unbeaten, and we could even beat that, JP. With the way this is going, we could beat that. But for in fact, well, obviously we can't beat them because we beat off St Mirren. But in terms of the full games, it could be a lot of games unbeaten overall under Ange. But for me, Seba, I think we've been really good this year in terms of sometimes grinding results out. Sometimes, especially the last season under Neil Lennon, we were not really grinding results out. We weren't really playing well. The fitness from us, for me, compared to then, is phenomenal. How have you found this season? Watching it kind of from afar, really not being a massive Celtic fan like us, obviously knowing Bernabei and following it better. How do you see Celtic in terms of being against Rangers and the Scottish teams? Do you really do feel that there is a wee bit of a better class to the Celtic team than maybe there has been in the past under different teams?
I think it's a better team. I remember I was on the stadium when Celtic beat Dundee United. I think it was that they scored in the 88th minute or something like that.
Is that Abada? Yeah.
The Abada scored. I think I scored 2 goals. I think it was a draw, one each until the 90th minute, and then Celtic scored 2 goals. I think, and this game shows that when you have that pressure, you have the players to make to change that. And this is a big example because I think Abada was on the bench and he came in and he scored the goals. But the important thing is that if they have the pressure, they know what to do. It's not this kind of teams that the St. Johnstone game is one of the another example in this season. So if you pay attention on all the games in this season, you start to realize that there's a lot of games like that. And I think that is one of the most important things for a team and for a club, to know what to do under the pressure. Because Celtic needs to win every single game. If they lose again, St. Mirren is gonna be the game that we will remember until the next season. And because the league is tight, it's not easy sometimes. And if you drop points, it could be complicated by the end of the season. You need to win every single game. And that is something important that Celtic had. The chance that if they are under pressure, they know what to do.
It's interesting, Seba. No, it's interesting what you were saying there, Seba, in terms of the team's character. Somebody must have passed it. Somebody needs to pass that on to Ange, because when St Mirren beat us, he disappeared to Australia. He just upped the ante and went to Australia and disappeared for a couple of days to promote the Sydney Cup. So it was as if Ange knew what was coming in terms of feeling the wrath of a defeat, being a Celtic manager. It's not something he's felt very often. But in terms of when you've started watching Celtic, you get it straight away, Seba. You understand, right? It's a club that needs to win every game. It's a club that has to win every single game. A draw's maybe okay, depending on your opponent, but a defeat is just a big no-no. But that's the standards that's set here. And I think that's apparent as well in terms of the makeup of the squad. And just bringing character into the squad. Bernabei obviously fits that mould because he has a certain drive and a certain energy level that's required to play with a club like Celtic. I think that's very important as well. It's not just about turning up and training every day and, trying to get on the field to play games. You need to have other skill sets that you can bring to make up that squad. And I think it's astonishing, guys, that we're witnessing a Celtic team that, as Ryan says a second ago, Seba, that has went all those games unbeaten. Like Starfelt and Carter Vickers, have not lost a game domestically when they've played at centre-half together. That is astonishing, in my opinion. And it's a certain drive that you have to have within, not something that can be built in you. It's got to be within you before you already, you know, you've already got here. I think that's very important as well, guys. There's also a clear hidden message there as well. That Ange isn't just going and signing players just because he's from Argentina and or he's from South Korea or he's from Japan or he's from Australia or he's signing guys with a certain character to make up what idea he has in his head of the way he wants to play football or the way he wants his Celtic team to shape up and play football. And I think that's equally important as to everything else that we spoke about.
I think that what we've all really speaking about here is really a comment here from Egyptian King again. I watch the Celtic team sometimes, and when I see them go behind, they're like animals. They come at you with everything, including the kitchen sink. It's remarkable the change basically under Ange in the last year. It's really what we've three frees have said here, the way when we do go behind or we are playing not to our best, we do retaliate, and that is all about the character. And we've seen that. To be fair, that's not really, in my opinion, just under Ange. I just think that's been a Celtic model since I've been a young guy. Every time we go behind, you always feel we're going to still win the game. Even if it's 1-0 with 10 minutes to go, you still feel they're going to win 2-1 or 3-1. You still feel, even games under Stratton and even Tyler, sometimes you score last minute goals and nobody would expect you to do it because you've not really been playing that well. But for me, it's been brilliant to watch that through the years, especially this year. Last year, a game at Ross County, etc. So that's not a fluke. You'll see some in the media think it is a fluke, and it's lucky. It's not. It's just general character and talent. And also the last bit to yourself, Seba. How's obviously your work been at the moment? I'm guessing you've been busy with the media stuff as well. Be obviously Argentina winning as well. So, and also you're part of a supporters club as well. How's that doing? And if you want to promote that as well.
Well, even better now with Alexandro and the team. We are happy. It's like I think I told you this a couple of months ago when we spoke about Bernabei. We are happy as a Celtic supporters club because we wanted this since it was created. Imagine having your own or your the player from your own country playing for the team that you support. It's fantastic. So every time he's playing, it feels like I'm playing with him as well. So happy for that. We are growing every time that a Celtic fan is going to Argentina. They get in touch with us to ask what to do, what activity, or where can just grab a beer with another Celtic fan. And that's the most important thing, right? It's the Celtic Supporters Club or the fans itself are the most beautiful thing about this club.
Seba, do you actually know Alessandro away from Celtic? Have you met up with? Have you been able to have a chance to hang out with him? Yeah.
Yes, I know the family as well. I'm always speaking with the family. The families, they are all happy for Bernabei as well. They're all looking forward for more games to see him playing more games. That is why I said before he's happy, apart from for playing or not. As I said, we are always chatting. I'm always asking him how is it going. The other day I received a lot of messages from Celtic fans saying, "Oh, he played well," because I asked how he played because I couldn't watch it. I was in Argentina, and I gave him this feedback and saying I received a lot of messages. Make better to create an account by yourself and read all these messages by yourself. So, but he was happy about that.
I think in general, JP, for me anyway, in terms of Bernabei, he's been very good so far. And obviously in terms of supporters clubs, it's amazing when you do go abroad, when you do go to these supporters clubs, it's a small world. You do meet fans from back home and you do meet fans from all the world that you just wouldn't expect to see. But then you walk into a Celtic supporters club and you meet them at the games, you meet them in pubs. It's an amazing thing that football does for you, not just on the park, but in terms of community and everything else. And I'll last back to yourself, mate. Anything you want to ask before we hit the road?
No, that was it. I just wanted to find out if he actually had a chance to maybe hang out with Alejandro, and it's obviously, it sounds like he knows him pretty well now, and he said he knows the family, which I think is absolutely excellent. And hopefully the next time you speak to him, you can pass on our best to him as well, and obviously wish him all the best for the rest of the season. And I really do hope he comes in and challenges Greg Taylor for that jersey. I really do.
Yeah, actually, I have his T-shirt here with me. He gave me one of the T-shirt. As an Argentine, you feel like this is like, as a Celtic fan, as an Argentine, it's like, okay, I cannot ask for anything else. But no, he's happy. His family is happy as well. They've been in Glasgow a couple of months ago, and they were crazy. I was chatting with them saying, this is a completely different world. Did you see the fans? Did you see the stadium? This is just a different world, and they were amazed with all of them.
Yeah, definitely. It's a massive, I think for a lot of players, it's a culture shock, when they come here, especially from abroad. But again, Seba, it's been amazing to chat to you and get your views on Bernabei and give us an update, because we don't really know too much about him, but by speaking to yourself and kind of other people on social media, you get to get a grasp of how good he is going to be in terms of how he's settling as well, which is very good to hear for a fan base, that he is settling well, even though he's not playing, but he's still happy at the club. But if anybody wants to subscribe to the channel, please do. If you like the content, please subscribe to the channel, tick the wee bell on YouTube, and you'll get, when we go live or any videos, it will pop up. Myself, JP and Seba, we're all on Twitter. And also Seba is part of the Argentine Celtic Sports Club. They're also on Twitter as well. We'll give them a wee follow for any updates on that as well. We're also on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all your social media platforms. And
you've got another couple of apps as well, haven't you, mate? We'll talk about that in the Friday show.
That's a watershed time. But in terms of the platforms, as soon as we release our episode, it's always on that as well. Again, thanks to the viewers and listeners for your comments. It's been really appreciated. Sorry I can't get through them all, but obviously we're busy chatting, so we can only get to a few. But Seba, I really appreciate your time, and take care, and hail, thank you. And JP as well. Take care, thanks, mate.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers, pleasure, thank you.